Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Ooh. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Aryelle Artistry here, and I'm coming at you with another look. So, I wanted to do a basics video because I feel like I have all these creative type videos out there on my channel, but I don't have a back to basics. So I wanted to start the new year off right. I wanted you guys to slay. So this is just going to be going over every little step that I do with my makeup. I'm going to be explaining why I do it and what I use. Before we get to the video though, please subscribe to my channel, be a part of my mermaid squad. It's a new year. I have new looks coming out, so you definitely don't want to miss that. So make sure you turn your notification bell on so you know whenever I post a new video. If you do like videos like this, please give it a thumbs up so I can keep creating them for you guys. If you have any questions at all during the video, just please comment down below and I have no problem answering them for you guys. You guys already know. If you want to see how to get this everyday look, just doing the basics, stay tuned. So the first thing I do when I do my makeup, I start off with my brows. Everyone is different. That's just kind of how I usually do it. That's how I was trained by Mac, so I kind of just stuck with it. So I'm going to be doing my brows off camera because my last makeup tutorial that I did do my brows with my new hair color. So if you want to see how I do my brows, just go check that out. Since this video is going to be really long, I don't want to, you know, make it repetitive. So I'm going to do my brows and I'll be right back to do my eyes. Alright, so my brows are on. Looking cute. So I'm gonna be explaining like everything. So this is gonna be like really back to the basics. So I'm gonna tell you why I'm using it and what I'm using it for, so it'd be a little bit easier for you to understand why. So after I do my eyebrows, I do my eyes, and I do that because I'm very heavy-handed when it comes to eyeshadow, so I always get fallout no matter what. So it's a lot easier if I just do my eyes first and then I could just clean it up rather than doing my foundation and then have to worry about the fallout and then cleaning up. It's just so much easier and it saves you so much more time. So to prime my eyelids, I always prime my eyelids with the Urban Decay Primer Potion, and this is in the shade Caffeine. So the reason why we prime our eyes is to make sure the eyeshadow stays on all night and all day. So think of it like sticky tape for your eyes. They do have other type of primers out there. I just like to use this one because it's the one that works for me. So I just take the wand and I literally just put it on my eyes. Alright, so this is what it looks like, and then I just take my finger and blend it out. And I do this because you don't want the eyeshadow to just stick in one place, so you want to make sure it's nice and smooth. So now that the primer is on, we're going to go into our palette. So I tell everybody that they need to have a palette either for everything or an everyday palette. I really like this palette, the Urban Decay Born to Run, because it has literally everything in there. If you want to do like a smoky eye, you can do that. If you want to play with color, you can play with color. And then there's some neutral shades in there as well. Whenever I travel, I usually bring this palette with me. So we're going to be doing a neutral look today, just so if you guys want to create it, you guys can. So I typically use either 2 or 3 shadows. You can do 1 shadow all over the lid, just kind of sweep it on there. But I usually do about 2. And I always do a matte and a shimmer. So a matte always goes in the crease, or you can do an all matte eye. So that means you could do matte in the crease and then matte on the lid, or you can do shimmer and matte, but all shimmer just, it doesn't look cute. Well, for me anyway, everybody is different. I'm just speaking of how I do my makeup and how I do my makeup on clients. So before I put any shadow on, I just make sure there's no creasing, because if you put a shadow on where there's creasing, then that will show up. To start, we always use a transition shade. You don't have to, it just makes life so much easier when you blend. So my transition shade in this palette is Riff, and it's like this really pretty orangey brown shade. And the brush that I use is this one right here. So this is a Crown C511. So you want to use a fluffy brush in the crease, so just so you can blend it out a little bit easier. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it. I actually learned this trick from M Mitchell when I watched his story. So I put the shadow on the brush and I make sure that the whole thing is covered, and then I tap off the excess a little bit, and then I start right here. So you see how there's kind of like a V right here? So that's where you want to put these shadows so you get that like lifted cat eye effect. So I start right here and I like to just tap the color on because you see more pigment. So if you just go back and forth, I'm going to show you guys a difference. So you see how there's more pigment here than here when I went back and forth? So I always just tap on the color just so you can see more of the pigment. And I just kind of stamp it on there with my brush. And depending on how pigmented you want the color, you can just keep dipping back into the shadow. So now you see the pigment of the shadow. I'm going to take the other side of the brush and just kind of blend it out. And this just makes sure there's no harsh lines because you don't want to see that. And then I'll go back and forth doing the same thing. So this is to my liking. I don't want it to be too smoky because this is going to be a natural look. So I'm going to stop and then go to the other eye. And a little trick that I do is if you have a mirror, you want to tilt it like this so you can see all the space that you have here, because I do have like slightly of a hooded lid. So I like to drag my shadow a little bit higher so you can see more of it. Because if I just stuck it right here, you won't be able to really see anything. So that's just a tip for anybody that has a hooded lid. Make sure you tilt your mirror and then go like all the way up here because you have all this room to work with. And then I usually smoke it out a little bit on the side because I always clean it up in the end, so you never really see that. So now that the crease is nice and warm, I'm gonna be doing a shimmery shade on my lid. And I want to keep this pretty neutral, so I'm going to be using the shade Smog. It's like a bronzy shade with like a smidge of gold in there. So for my lid, I'm taking this flat brush right here. So this is really going to help like pack the color on. And you see how it's oval shaped on the top? So that's going to give us like that kind of cut crease look. This is how I usually cut my crease when I don't want too much drama. So I usually start in the inner part of my eye and then follow the crease. And this is like that cut crease we're doing. So you see how it kind of made a line right there? And then I usually stop right here because you want more definition here. So I'm just going to leave it like that. See, this is a cute like everyday eye. So now that the lid shade is on there, I'm gonna go back in with that fluffy brush and just kind of blend the edges a little bit. And then I'm gonna take more of that rift shade and then put more right here just to make sure that they're blend together, because we want to keep the definition back here. And then I go back in with that flat brush and I just kind of blend the two so there's no harsh lines. So you don't have to put on lashes, but I'm going to show you guys how I put my lashes on. I don't usually wear lashes every single day, but for this look, I'm going to put some lashes on. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been doing makeup for years and I still have issues putting lashes on sometimes. It's just, I don't know, it's just a pain in the ass. So the lashes that I'm using are from AliExpress. You guys know I love these lashes. I use them all the time. And the number that I'm using is E11. So the glue that I like to use is Duo. I like this one because it has a little brush so you can paint on the lash. I don't know if this one has latex in it, but I know the Squeezy Duo has latex in it, and if you have a latex allergy, they definitely have options out there for you. So I take the glue, then I take the lash, and I just paint it on there. All right, so you see how the glue is on there? And it doesn't dry like this, it dries clear. And to make life easier, I am gonna be using my tweezers. They do have lash applicators that makes it easier too. So what I do is I take the lash and put it right in the center. Just make sure that the glue is dry because you don't wanna see these slipping and sliding all over the place. And I just hold it there for like a couple seconds. And then I do the corners. So I'll do the end and then I'll do the inner corner. And that's the easiest way for me to do it. You'll see a lot of people put mascara on first. I don't do that because my eyelashes are really curly. So if I put the mascara on, it's like so much harder to put the lash on. So I just do the lashes first and then mascara after. You can really get close to the lash line with the tweezers. And then I take my finger and then just kind of squeeze them together. All right, and that is one lash on. So that's how I put my lashes on. Hopefully it helps you, but like I said, I have my days too. Like, you can do makeup for years and lashes will still be a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna pop the other one on and I'll be right back. You see how lashes just like add some drama? I love it, especially if you're doing like a natural eye. I usually go back in with my fluffy brush and then just add more because sometimes you lose it with the lash. So I'm just gonna add a little more of the riff. So now this is when I usually put my mascara on. So this is the Giorgio Armani mascara. You guys know I'm obsessed. I'm never gonna change this mascara. It's so freaking bomb, especially if you just wanna use it on your own lashes. It gives you so much length, so much volume. I usually just put it on my lashes. You see how there's like eyeshadow primer on my lashes, so I just want to cover that. And the last step that I do for on top of my eyes is liquid liner. So this is just gonna hide the lash band so you don't really see it as much, so it looks like your real lashes. The one that I'm using is the Urban Decay Perversion Fine Point Eye Pen. I do like this one because it is a brush tip, not a felt tip, so it is more user friendly. So what I usually do is I just kind of flatten my lashes down and make sure that my hand is sturdy on top of the table, and then I just follow the line. And I always do a thin line because of my eye shape, so depending on your eye shape you can go a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner. Can you guys see the difference, how this is like a lot more fuller than the other one? So again, like we do with our eyes, we're gonna prime our face. So this is the Urban Decay All Nighter Face Primer. I really like this primer because it definitely helps your makeup stay on all day, and it hydrates as well. So, and we all need hydration out here, girl. And all the primers are different depending on what you want the primer to do. There's like pore perfecting primers, there's hydrating primers. After the primer, I like to color correct. So I have a lot of, not as much as I did before because I'm really taking care of my skin, but I do have some darkness around here, around my mouth, and then a little bit under my eyes. So I take this red corrector right here. This is the Stay Naked Pro Customizer in the shade Pure Red. If you do want a more affordable color corrector, LA Girl is really, really good. I used to use them before this came out. So what I do is I take the corrector and I do little dots. If you swipe this, it's gonna be way too much and it'll peek through your foundation, and you don't want that. I take this fluffy brush right here from It Cosmetics. So this is a blending concealer brush and it's nice and fluffy. So I just kind of dab it on there. And I do this before my foundation. And like the primer, there are different color correctors. There's green for redness, there's orange to help with dark circles, there's pink, there's peach, there's lavender, there's a bunch of different colors. Just depending on what you want to use it for, you can look it up and pick which one you want. So now that it's nice and blended, I'm gonna put on my foundation. So this is the Stay Naked Waterproof Foundation. I love this foundation. I've done quite a few videos on this foundation. So I'm gonna just show you guys like a snippet since I do already have a video on it. I'm gonna be using shade 61NN and shade 70NN. I was mixing the two because of my tan in the summer. But now I think I'm just this one, so I might just put a little bit of the 70 in there. So I like to put my foundation on this Petri dish right here. It just makes it a lot easier rather than just doing your hand. And you can order this on Amazon. You can honestly get it anywhere at an art supply store. And since I have to mix the two, I just mixed it with my concealer brush. And you can apply your foundation a couple different ways. I like to use beauty blenders because it makes your foundation look more airbrushed. You can use a brush as well. They have silicone sponges out there you can use. A lot of people use their hands. The thing about using your hands is that your natural oils mix with the foundation, so it doesn't have the longevity as it would if you use it with a brush or a beauty blender. So like I said, to each his own. This is just how I like to apply my makeup. So I'm just, since I don't have a sink here, I'm just using a cup just to wet it. So just make sure it's wet because that's really going to give you some extra hydration and make sure that the foundation blends really nicely. So now that my beauty blender is nice and wet, I'm just going to put the extra foundation around here. And then I take my beauty blender and use the butt of it and just kind of dip it in there and then put on my face. I did just clean it too, so it might not be too much coverage at first, but I'm gonna build it up. And this foundation is medium to full coverage depending on how many pumps you do. I always do 2 pumps because I like full coverage. So I want to show you guys the difference between medium and full coverage. So this is medium coverage. You see how you still see some of my acne scars peeking through versus full coverage where you see nothing. So this is what I like. So this is totally optional. This is just something I wanted to show you guys since it is something that I do that's new. So I like to cream contour. So I'm going to be taking the Juvia's Place foundation stick in the shade Fatsina. So I like to just use a foundation stick because it's so much easier. There are different contour colors. You can do more of like a brown orange base, or you can do more of like a gray base. I like to do the brown orange base. I'm going to just show you guys how I cream contour. So I take the stick and I go very lightly because this is very creamy and a little goes a long way. So I just outline the contours of my face. So I do my cheekbone on both sides. I do a little down my nose. I do my jawline, the whole jaw, and then I do my forehead. And I'm just doing little dots. And then for this part, some people do beauty blenders, some people do brushes. I like to do a brush. So this is the Real Techniques setting brush, and I love this because it's nice and fluffy, and then I just blend it out. And for contour, I just go back and forth. You don't want to go up and down because it'll defeat the purpose of a contour. And if you put too much down here, don't worry because I always make sure I blend it out so you don't have that like harsh line right there. So you see how it's nice and blended. This just kind of gives you a more dramatic look. I love the look of cream contour now because you can really see it, especially in pictures. So once it's all blended, I go back in with my beauty blender, especially right here, and just make sure that it's blended. I don't do my cheekbone, I just do the forehead and the jawline. So for concealer, I like to go a shade lighter. So this is the Stay Naked concealer that I use for my eyebrows. So this is in shade 60NN. So I like to highlight the high points of my face. So I do underneath my eyes, my nose, a little bit on my chin. I really like this concealer because it's the same as the foundation. It's waterproof. And again, you can use a brush with this. You can use a beauty blender. I'm actually going to be using a smaller version of my beauty blender. You can really get in there with this one. And then when I get over here, I like to just make it a little bit more sharp. So this is when I really blend out the eyeshadow up here. That's why I like to drag it down. See how it just kind of cuts it a little bit? You see how the concealer just kind of lightens up my face, and then I have the contour. So you always want to do cream before powder. So now I'm going to do a loose powder under my eyes. This is the Urban Decay The Ultimate Brush Off Setting Powder, and this is in the Universal shade. So again, you can use a beauty blender or a brush. Since I don't really like to bake, which is taking your beauty blender and taking powder and then just kind of setting under here, for me, it makes my under eyes look really dry. So I just set regularly with a brush. So I'm going to use this huge fluffy brush right here, and then I'm going to use this smaller eyeshadow brush right here. This is the large blending brush, and then this is the tapered powder brush. So I like to use these two. This one I like to just put it right underneath my eye, and then the bigger one I just like to put it on my cheeks because it just fits right there. Very similar to the eyeshadow thing. Make sure there is no creasing because once you set it, you're gonna have wrinkly under eyes, and that is not cute. I make sure I look up most of the time. So I'll prep my brush, I'll stay looking up, and then I'll just set very lightly right under here. Now I'm taking that big fluffy brush, tapping some of the powder off, and then just setting the rest. And then I'll go back in with my beauty blender and just make sure it doesn't look that dry because of the powder. Now to set our contour. So if you don't want to do a cream contour, you can just do bronzer. So the bronzer I'm using is a Sunlit Bronzer in Ipanema Sun by Becca. So I'm using an angled dual fiber brush. I really like it because it just kind of fits right in there. So I'm just going to go on top of what I did with the cream contour. And then to set my nose, I just have a smaller version of that angled dual fiber brush. And I'm just going to do a little bit because it's already pretty dramatic. So I just want to set the cream part. And then for setting powder for my face, I do like to use a colored powder. So I'm going to be taking this MAC Studio Fix powder in NC50, and I'm going to be taking that same brush, but it's not angled, it's just a fluffy brush. And I'm just going to kind of tap it wherever I put the foundation. Alright, so now that the contour, the powder, all that good stuff is done, I am going to move on to underneath my eye. So I always drag my shadows underneath because it just makes the eyeshadow look more complete. So I'm going to be going back into that Born to Run palette, and I'm going to take the same colors. I'm going to start off with Riff. And I'm going to use this smaller eyeshadow brush. This is a Crown C528. It's just a smaller detailing brush, so you can really get into the crease if you like, but I just really like to fit it underneath here. And then I always start on the edge. I tap like I do up in the crease, and then I just go back and forth. You see the difference? How it just really completes everything? And I go pretty low because I have all this space right here. So you don't have to go as far as I do. That's just how I like it. Now I'm going to use the same brush and dip into Smog. And I'm going to stick this right in the inner part of my eye. You see how it looks more complete, like you have a finished eye? So for the inner corner, I'm going to be using a brighter shade. So I'm going to be using Stranded. So this is a nice pretty gold shade. I don't want it to be too bright since it is a neutral look. But you can do like a champagne color, you can do, some people do white. And I'm going to use this pointer brush. This is a Crown C513. And I'm just going to stick it right in the inner part of my eye. And this just opens up your eye and makes you look more awake. And I love doing this because even if you do this to a simple look, it just brings everything together. Yes! I love this. All right, so now for eyeliner. So a lot of people use black. I actually use brown for the daytime because it is a lot more natural. So I'm going to be using the 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil by Urban Decay in the shade Bourbon. So this is very similar to the shade Whiskey that I use all the time on my lips and in my eyes. This just has some shimmer to it. So we're almost done. We just have to do blush, highlight, and then I'm going to be doing some mascara on the bottom. So I've talked about this eyeshadow primer before. This is the Subversion primer by Urban. So I like this because it makes your lashes super, super long. It also like helps prime it. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry, get a little tacky. So now we're gonna move on to blush and highlight. So this is my favorite everyday blush. This is Gingerly by MAC, and the brush that I'm using is this Becca angled highlighting brush. So you can either put it on the apples of your cheek or drag it back. It really depends on how you like your blush. I really like to just keep it on the apples because it kind of gives me like a cute like look, you know? So I just kind of stamp it on there and then push it back. And it really blends into the bronzer, so that's why I don't really push it all the way back. And then I have another Real Techniques setting brush, so I just like to take this and just make sure everything's blended together. Go underneath my contour to make it a little bit more sharp, and then I just blend down here again. And blending is key when it comes to makeup. If you want it to look flawless, you have to make sure everything is blended. All right, now for my favorite part is highlight. So I've been obsessed with this highlighter. I recently just picked it up again. This is Whisper of Guilt by MAC. So they don't have this actual packaging, but they do have it by itself. So you guys can still get it, it just won't be this version. But I'm using the Morphe M510 brush. So this is nice and fluffy, so this kind of gives you a nice highlight. And there also is like cream highlighting, but I don't really do cream highlighting because this highlight is enough, like you see. So if you want to cream highlight, you just do it with the cream contour right before powder. And then I take my Real Techniques brush again and then just kind of blend it in circular motions, make sure there's no harsh lines. You can't really tell where one stops and one starts. So now that the mascara is dry, I'm gonna go in with the Perversion Waterproof Mascara. So I only use waterproof on the bottom because for some reason my lashes are so long, they always bleed underneath. So this is the only mascara that doesn't do that. All right, so the last thing that we have to do is lips. So depending on how your lips are, I do like liquid lips, but since it is winter, my lips tend to get a lot more dry, so I'm gonna be using like a creamy lipstick. So I usually start off with lip liner. So the lip liner I'm using is by ColourPop, and this is in BFF3. So my lips are actually not too dry. I did put chapstick on because it's always crusty. But with lip liner, you can line your lips or you can overline your lips, and I usually overline my lips just to make them look a little bit bigger. And I do like to go a shade darker because that also gives you the illusion of bigger lips. I usually start right in the middle and then do each side. And it's really easy if you just smile because you can really just trace your lip line. And then for the top part on the Cupid's bow, I like to just draw like a little X because it's a lot easier to make sure that they're even. So to overdraw your lips, I usually just line my lips how they are and then I'll figure it out if I want to do a little bit more. So now we're going to be using the lipstick. This is the Becca Ultimate Lipstick Love, and this is in the shade Yours Truly. So I just put it right in the center and then put my lips together and just mush the lip liner and the lipstick together. And then I go back in with the lip pencil and just outline it. And then I'm going to do a gloss. This is the Urban Decay Lip Gloss in Star Center. So I just put it right in the center. And this just like gives it a little more oomph, you know? Ooh, yeah, that's pretty. All right, so the last thing that we have to do is use our setting spray. So I know we primed, I know we used waterproof everything, but I like to spray this because this helps control my oil and this makes everything on your face waterproof, like my highlight, my blush, my contour, all that stuff. So I literally just take it and I spray like from here. So that is it. That is everything. So yeah, but I'm gonna do my hair and then I'll be right back. So this is the finished look. So this is what I would do for my makeup every single day, all the steps that I do. So I just wanted to create this video because I feel like a lot of people don't know the basics, and when I'm doing my makeup videos, I don't want you to be really confused. So yeah, I hope this helped. I hope this makes doing your makeup so much easier so you can slay all 2020. I wanted you to start the new year off right. So yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Be a part of my mermaid squad. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I'm ready for a new year with new videos and new looks. So I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.